Marcus Chun never imagined that missing his usual bus would change 4 lives forever. It was 10:47 p.m. on a frigid January night in Seattle, and he stood alone at the Pine Street bus stop, exhausted from another 12-hour shift at the tech company where he worked as a data analyst. His phone showed 3 missed calls from his mother and a text from his 8-year-old daughter Mia. "Daddy, when are you coming home? I want to show you my drawing." Guilt twisted in his chest. Since his wife Lisa had died 2 years ago from complications during what should have been a routine surgery, Marcus had thrown himself into work. It was easier than sitting in their too-quiet house, easier than facing Mia's questions about why mommy wasn't coming back, easier than admitting that part of him had died on that operating table too. The bus stop was deserted except for one other person, a figure hunched on the bench, barely visible in the shadows between streetlights. Marcus almost didn't notice her until she moved, standing up with obvious difficulty. That's when he saw her clearly for the first time. She was young, maybe mid-20s, wrapped in a coat too thin for the Seattle winter. But what stopped Marcus's heart was her head. Completely bald, skin pale as moonlight, dark circles etched so deeply under her eyes that she looked like a ghost. And in her arms, wrapped in what looked like every piece of clothing she owned, was a baby. A newborn baby. "Excuse me," the woman said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Are you Marcus Chun?" Every instinct screamed at Marcus to step back, to be careful. This was downtown Seattle late at night. But something about her desperation, about the baby in her arms, kept him frozen in place. "Do I know you?" he asked cautiously. "No. But I know you." She took a shaky step forward, and Marcus could see tears streaming down her gaunt face. "Please, I need to ask you something. Something impossible." Marcus's hand moved toward his phone, ready to call for help. "Ma'am, if you're in trouble, I need you to take my daughter." The words tumbled out in a rush. "Please. I've been watching you for 2 months. I know that sounds insane, but please just listen. I'm dying and she needs someone, and you're good. I've seen you be good. Please." The baby made a small sound, and the woman automatically adjusted her grip, rocking gently despite her trembling. That maternal instinct, so automatic even in crisis, made Marcus pause. "I think you need to sit down," he said carefully, gesturing to the bench, "and explain what's happening." Relief flooded her face. She sank back onto the bench like her legs couldn't hold her another second, and Marcus sat beside her, keeping a careful distance but close enough to help if she collapsed. "My name is Jade," she began, her voice shaking. "Jade Morrison. This is Sophie. She's 19 days old." She looked down at the bundle in her arms with such love that Marcus felt his chest tighten. "And I have stage 4 pancreatic cancer." The words hung in the frozen air between them. "How long?" Marcus asked quietly. "They gave me 6 weeks when they diagnosed me 5 months ago." Jade's laugh was bitter. "I was already 4 months pregnant. They said terminating the pregnancy and starting aggressive treatment immediately was my only chance. Maybe add a year or 2 to my life." Marcus looked at Sophie, peaceful and tiny in her mother's arms. "But you didn't." "I couldn't." Tears spilled down Jade's face. "Do you know what it's like to be completely alone? No family, no one who shares your DNA, no one who's truly yours. I've been in foster care since I was 5. Bounced around until I aged out at 18. This baby," her voice broke. "Sophie is the only family I've ever had. The only person in the entire world who's really mine." "So you chose her," Marcus said softly. "I chose us," Jade corrected. "I chose the chance to be a mother, even if only for a little while. Even if it kills me." Marcus sat back, processing. "Why me? Why are you telling me this?" "Because I've been watching you," Jade admitted, and when Marcus tensed, she hurried on. "I know how that sounds. But I've been staying at the Harbor Hope shelter on Fridays and Saturdays. That's where I first saw you." Marcus's mind raced back. He'd been volunteering at Harbor Hope for about 3 months now. Ever since Mia's school counselor suggested he needed to find purpose outside of work and grief. He'd been reading to the kids in the family room, trying to give back somehow. "You volunteer every Friday night," Jade continued. You read stories to the children. You do all the voices, dragons, princesses, talking animals. You make them laugh. 2 months ago, your daughter called while you were reading. I heard you tell her you'd be home soon, but right now you were helping other kids who needed stories too. And the way you said it, she wiped her eyes. There was no frustration, no resentment. Just love. Jade, I asked about you. The other volunteers told me your story. How you lost your wife. How you were raising your daughter alone. How you started volunteering because you wanted to teach her that helping others matters, even when your own heart is broken. She looked at him directly. You proved that good people exist. And I needed to know that, because I'm about to ask the impossible. Marcus's throat felt tight. What are you asking? Take her. Jade's voice broke completely. Take Sophie. Foster her while I get treatment. I can't do the treatment while caring for a newborn. The social workers keep saying she needs to go into foster care, but I live that system. I know what happens to babies with dying mothers. She'll disappear into it, and even if I survive, she couldn't continue. You want me to take care of your baby? Marcus said slowly, trying to understand. A complete stranger? Not a complete stranger. I've watched you for 2 months. I've seen you be patient, kind. Exactly the kind of father every child deserves. Jade's hands tightened around Sophie. I'm not asking you to adopt her. I'm not asking forever. Just, while I fight. While I try to live. Please. Marcus thought about Mia, about his job, about his mother who already thought he was working too much and grieving too hard. This was insane. Taking in a stranger's baby while she underwent cancer treatment? No rational person would agree to this. But he looked at Jade. 20-something years old, alone, dying, fighting desperately to be a mother. He looked at Sophie, innocent and perfect, her tiny fist curled against her mother's chest. And he thought about Lisa. About the promise they'd made to each other on their wedding day to always help those who couldn't help themselves. About the kind of man he wanted to be for Mia. The kind of father who showed her that compassion mattered more than convenience. My mother lives with us, Marcus said finally. She's going to think I've lost my mind. Jade's head snapped up, hope blazing in her eyes. But, Marcus continued, pulling out his phone, I was raised to believe that sometimes God puts you exactly where you need to be. Exactly when someone needs you most. He opened his rideshare app. I'm calling a car. You and Sophie are coming home with me tonight. Tomorrow we figure out the medical stuff. Tomorrow we handle the legal paperwork. Tomorrow we make a plan. But tonight you're not alone anymore. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. Marcus looked at her seriously. You need treatment immediately, right? Sophie needs care while you're fighting. I have a spare room. Mia's been asking for a sibling since she learned to talk. He paused, thinking of Lisa. How she'd always insisted on helping anyone who needed it. And I know what it's like to face the impossible alone. Nobody should have to do that. Jade's entire body shook with sobs. Why? Why would you do this for strangers? Marcus thought about the right answer, then settled on the truth. Because 2 years ago, strangers became my family when I needed them most. Maybe it's my turn to be that person for someone else. The car ride was silent except for Sophie's occasional sounds. Jade sat rigid, holding her daughter like she might vanish, still not quite believing this was real. When they pulled up to Marcus's modest house in the Beacon Hill neighborhood, lights blazed from the living room. His mother Margaret appeared at the door before they reached it, her face a mixture of concern and confusion. Marcus, it's almost midnight. Where have you? She stopped, staring at Jade and the baby. Her experienced eyes took in everything, the bald head, the exhaustion, the newborn. Oh, child. Mom, this is Jade and her daughter Sophie. They need help. Margaret Chun had raised 4 children, buried a husband, and lived through enough to recognize crisis when she saw it. Come inside. Quickly now, it's freezing. She ushered them in, already moving into action. Marcus, put them in the guest room. I'll make ginger tea. You look ready to collapse, dear. Mia appeared at the top of the stairs in her unicorn pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Daddy? Why is there a baby? Mia, sweetheart, this is Jade and Sophie. They're going to stay with us for a while. Jade is very sick and needs our help. Mia descended the stairs slowly, her 8-year-old curiosity overcoming sleepiness. What kind of sick? The fighting kind, Jade said softly. The kind where doctors have to give you medicine that makes you feel worse before you feel better. Mia considered this seriously. Like when I had strep throat and the medicine tasted yucky? Kind of like that, but stronger. Oh. Mia moved closer, peering at Sophie with intense interest. She's really tiny. Is she going to be my sister? The innocent question made Jade's breath catch. She's going to be our guest, Marcus said carefully. We're going to help take care of her while Jade gets better. Like when Mrs. Patterson brought us casseroles when Mommy died? Mia asked with the brutal honesty of children. Exactly like that. Mia nodded, satisfied. She looked at Sophie with serious eyes. I'm really good at being quiet when people are sick. And I can sing lullabies. Mommy taught me 12 different ones before she died. I remember all of them. Jade started crying again, and Mia, with the confidence of a child who'd learned too young about grief, patted her arm gently. It's okay to cry. Daddy says crying is just love trying to find its way out. The next morning, Marcus called his boss and took family medical leave. By noon, they were at Seattle Cancer Care Alliance with Sophie in a borrowed infant carrier and Mia staying home with Margaret. The oncology team was shocked Jade had survived the pregnancy. Dr. Sarah Kim, the lead oncologist, was direct. The cancer has progressed significantly. Treatment should have started 5 months ago. We're looking at aggressive chemotherapy, possibly followed by radiation, maybe surgery if we can shrink the tumors enough. It's going to be brutal. How brutal? Marcus asked. 6 months of chemotherapy, 2 different drug combinations, administered every other week. Severe nausea, fatigue, potential organ damage, complete immune system suppression. She'll need constant care. Someone to drive her to appointments, manage medications, help with basic daily tasks. Dr. Kim looked at Jade. Do you have family support? Jade glanced at Marcus and this man who'd upended his life for her. I do now. The first treatment was scheduled for Monday morning. Marcus drove Jade to the cancer center at dawn, Sophie strapped safely in her car seat, Mia at school, Margaret at home preparing soup. The infusion room was a special kind of hell. Rows of recliners for poles, the chemical smell of medicine designed to poison you into health. Jade was terrified. 8 hours for the first infusion, the nurse explained. Her name was Patricia, and her kind eyes had seen too many young people fighting too hard. Someone needs to stay with you. I'm here, Marcus said, settling into the chair beside Jade's recliner with Sophie in his arms and his laptop balanced precariously. I can work remotely. The chemicals dripped slowly into Jade's port, a toxic cocktail designed to kill rapidly dividing cells. Cancer cells, but also hair cells, stomach lining cells, immune cells. For the first 3 hours she seemed okay. She even managed to nurse Sophie one last time before the nausea hit. Then it hit like a freight train. Jade barely made it to the bathroom. Marcus held Sophie, rocking her gently, while Jade was violently sick. When she emerged, pale and shaking, he handed her a cold cloth without comment. I'm sorry, she kept saying. This is disgusting. You shouldn't have to see this. Stop apologizing, Marcus said firmly. You're fighting for your life. For Sophie's future. There's nothing to apologize for. The drive home was torture. Every bump made Jade nauseous. She kept her eyes closed, breathing through her mouth, one hand pressed to the cool window. At home, Margaret had prepared bland rice porridge. Jade managed 3 spoonfuls before being sick again. That became the pattern. Treatment Monday, hell Tuesday through Thursday, brief relief Friday through Sunday before starting again. Marcus learned quickly which anti-nausea medications helped and which made things worse. How to recognize when Jade needed the bathroom urgently. How to prepare formula when she was too weak to nurse. How to swaddle a crying newborn while simultaneously caring for a desperately ill woman and keeping Mia's life as normal as possible. Margaret proved invaluable. She'd managed the household during her husband's final illness, and she brought that same calm efficiency now. She handled school pickups, homework help, meal preparation, laundry, all the invisible work that kept a household running while crisis consumed the foreground. Mia drew pictures for Jade during week 2. Colorful scenes of sunshine and flowers, always with a note in careful 8-year-old handwriting. Get well soon, Miss Jade. Week 4 brought new horrors. Jade developed mucositis, painful mouth sores that made eating agony. Marcus started making protein smoothies, the only thing she could tolerate. You're going to turn me into a health nut, Jade joked weakly, wincing as she swallowed. If it keeps you alive, I'll turn you into whatever you need to be. Week 6, Jade's hair, what little had grown back after her previous chemo self-cut, fell out completely. She came into the kitchen one morning holding clumps of it, crying silently. Mia looked up from her cereal. With the wisdom of a child who'd watched her mother die, she said simply, hair grows back. You don't. That's why the medicine has to be so mean. Somewhere during those endless days and nights something shifted. Marcus found himself listening for Jade's footsteps, worrying when she was too quiet, feeling relief flood through him when she managed to keep down a full meal. Jade watched Marcus move through the house, patient with Mia's questions, gentle with Sophie's midnight cries, efficient with medication schedules, and felt her heart crack open in ways she'd never allowed before. Neither acknowledged it. How could they? Jade was fighting for her life. Marcus was playing caretaker. This wasn't the time for complicated feelings. But feelings don't wait for convenient times. Month 3 brought crisis. Jade's white blood cell count crashed. Neutropenic, the doctors called it, any infection could be fatal. She was hospitalized immediately, placed in isolation while they waited for her immune system to recover. Marcus juggled everything, hospital visits, both girls at home, work calls, meals, laundry. His life became an exhausting marathon with no finish line in sight. One particularly bad night, Jade looked up at Marcus through the forest of 4 lines. You should let social services take Sophie. This isn't fair to you. Stop, Marcus interrupted. We're a team now. All of us. Mia asked me yesterday if you were going to die. And you know what I told her? Jade shook her head weakly. I told her that families don't give up on each other. And somewhere along the way, that's what we became, a family. He took her hand carefully. So no, you don't get to push us away now. We're in this together. Jade's tears soaked the hospital pillow, but for the first time, they weren't entirely tears of despair. Month 4 brought the first scan since treatment began. Marcus drove Jade to the appointment, both barely breathing as Dr. Kim pulled up the images. The tumors have shrunk by 40%, Dr. Kim announced with a rare smile. Jade sobbed. Marcus held her while Sophie gurgled happily in her carrier, and Mia, who'd insisted on coming, cheered loud enough that nurses poked their heads in. It's working, Dr. Kim said. The treatment is working. For the first time since that night at the bus stop, hope felt tangible. But the fight wasn't over. Month 5 brought radiation, daily treatments for 6 weeks. Every single day, Monday through Friday, they made the drive to the cancer center. Marcus rearranged his entire work schedule around it. The routine became meditative. They'd listen to music in the car. Jade's hair growing back now in soft dark curls. By month 6, it was 2 inches long. Mia loved braiding it. Tiny awkward braids that Jade wore with pride. Sophie's first birthday fell on a rainy February day. Exactly 1 year after that night at the bus stop. They celebrated with a small party. Sophie smashing cake everywhere, delighted by the mess. Mia helping her baby sister open presents. Jade and Marcus side by side on the couch, watching their girls play. Thank you, Jade whispered, not for the first time. Stop thanking me, Marcus replied, also not for the first time. I mean it. None of this, Sophie, me being alive, none of it would have happened without you. Marcus turned to look at her. Her hair had grown back fully now, dark curls framing her face. She'd gained weight back. Color had returned to her cheeks. She looked nothing like the dying woman from the bus stop. She looked beautiful. We did it together, he said quietly. All of us. The final scan came in March, 14 months after everything began. Marcus held Jade's hand in Dr. Kim's office while Sophie played with blocks and Mia fidgeted nervously. Dr. Kim pulled up the images. No evidence of disease. Complete remission, Jade. The cancer is gone. The office erupted. Mia shrieked. Sophie startled and cried, then laughed when everyone else laughed. Jade collapsed against Marcus, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. You did it, Marcus whispered into her curls. You survived. We survived, Jade corrected. All of us. That evening, after both girls were asleep, Jade found Marcus in the kitchen. She'd been trying to figure out how to bring up moving out, getting her own place, not being a burden anymore. Marcus, I need to talk to you, she started. I should start looking for an apartment. You've done so much, but you have your life back now. I don't want you to move out, Marcus interrupted. Jade stopped. What? I don't want you to move out. Actually, I was hoping you'd stay. Not as a patient or a guest, but as... He took a breath. As more. The kitchen felt too small suddenly, charged with something unspoken finally being said. These past 14 months, Marcus continued. Watching you fight, seeing you with the girls, having family dinners together. Somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you. Jade's heart stopped, started, raced. You can't. You saved my life. You're feeling obligated. Obligated. Marcus actually laughed. Jade, you brought light back into this house. You showed Mia that strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up. You showed me that my heart wasn't buried with Lisa. It was just waiting for someone extraordinary. I don't know how to be loved, Jade whispered. I don't know how to be in a family. Then let me teach you, Marcus said softly, stepping closer. Let me show you what it looks like when someone chooses you. Not out of obligation, but because you're remarkable. Because watching you survive made me want to really live again. She kissed him then, soft, tentative, tasting like tears and hope and new beginnings. On a sunny August afternoon, Marcus and Jade married in their backyard. Mia, now 10, served as maid of honor with fierce seriousness. 3-year-old Sophie toddled down the aisle throwing flower petals with enthusiastic inaccuracy. Jade's hair had grown long, reaching past her shoulders in soft curls. She wore a simple white dress. Marcus wore a suit bought specifically for this day. Margaret cried through the entire ceremony. The cancer remained in remission. Jade had started nursing school, inspired to help other cancer patients. Marcus had been promoted at work. Mia excelled in everything. Sophie was healthy, happy, and completely unaware of her desperate beginning. At the reception, watching Jade dance with both girls, Marcus thought about that cold January night at the bus stop. How a desperate plea from a dying stranger had become the foundation for something neither of them saw coming. Love doesn't always arrive the way we expect. Sometimes it shows up terrified and bald, holding a newborn baby, asking the impossible from a stranger. Sometimes it grows slowly in the spaces between chemotherapy sessions and midnight feedings and hospital vigils. Sometimes it blooms in the aftermath of survival, when two broken people realize they've become whole together. They installed a small plaque at the Pine Street bus stop. Most people wouldn't notice it, wouldn't understand it. Hope begins here. Because it did. Hope began when one desperate mother trusted a stranger with her most precious possession. Hope grew through every brutal treatment, every sleepless night, every small victory. Hope flourished when they all chose love over fear, family over solitude, faith over certainty. Jade kept a journal for Sophie, filling pages with the story of her first year. Someday, when Sophie was old enough, she'd read about the bus stop, about Marcus's impossible kindness, about fighting for life and love winning. She'd learn that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about choice, about showing up, about saying yes when every logical reason says no. That's what Marcus taught them. That's what they became. Not a perfect family, but a real one. Forged from desperation, transformed into love. From strangers transformed into everything. We all stand at bus stops in our lives, desperate, terrified, holding hope by the thinnest thread. And sometimes, if we're incredibly lucky, a stranger stops and changes everything. That's not just a story. That's the kind of world worth fighting for.